The prices of apples, pears, and other agricultural products for ancestral rites have risen, adding to the burden on household budgets ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday.
사과, 배 등 성수품 가격이 올라 설명절을 앞두고 가계 부담이 커지고 있습니다. Well, Seoul is just around the corner. And people buy food, fruits, what have you for these ancestral rites. But those prices are going up.
Yeah, they sure are. So according to Statistics Korea, just on Sunday, the consumer price index of agricultural, livestock, and fisheries products were up 8% last month compared to a year earlier. Fruit prices have jumped 28%, which is about 10 times the overall average.
Wow.
If I break it down a little bit, apple prices rose nearly 57%. Peaches are up just under 50%, 48%, and pear prices have increased by just over 41%. So,
And a lot of families still do stick to the tradition, and so they have to buy these.
and it's those ones that are always you see on the tables, right?
Yeah, exactly. 아, 그렇습니다. 자, 우리 일단은 그럼 첫 번째 표현 ancestral rites 한번 보도록 할까요?
I would define this as like as a ceremony to honor deceased relatives.
Yeah, a rite is like a ritual, isn't
Yeah,
it?
right, exactly. A tradition, a ritual.
And how do you spell rite in this case?
R-I-T-E.
So it's not R-I-G-H-T.
Right.
네, 스펠링이 R-I-T-E인데요. 우리가 맞다 틀리다 할 때 R-I-G-H-T랑 발음은 똑같아요. 그래서 여기는 그 제사나 차례라는 뜻이 되겠습니다. 그래서 ancestral rights에 들어가는 음식 그런 이제 뭐 농산품이라는 뜻으로 agricultural products for ancestral rights라고 할 수 있죠. There's another term with the word right in it that comes to mind, and that's the rite of passage. So this is when a child becomes an adult. Or
Yeah, I
could it
think
be
that's
other
kind
things
of
as well?
that's kind of how you can think of it, or it's
Yeah.
you do something that shows you're getting older, right?
You're going to the next level.
You're going to that next level
in life.
right? And
Yeah.
everybody usually does that thing as well.
아, 그래요. 이 right라는 게 어떤 이제 뭐 예식이 될 수도 있고 뭔가 이렇게 차리는 그 정식으로 뭔가 절차를 거치는 것 이런 것이 될 수 있어요. 그래서 뭐 성인식이 될 수도 있고 아니면 우리가 이제 인생의 몇몇 단계들을 거칠 때 이때쯤에는 이런 것을 우리가 통과하는 게 당연하지. This is a rite of passage. 이렇게 얘기할 수도 있습니다. 자, 그다음에 adding to the burden.
Well, burden is some problem, something that causes difficulty. So in this case, you're adding to it. You're making it more difficult financially on people.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking. In this case, they're talking about financial burden, adding to the financial burden.
Right, because a lot of other things are expensive too, but
Right.
now
And this is something that you basically need to buy for if you're going to do this, and if you're going to do the ancestral rites, you're going to follow this ritual. And again, a lot of people travel during the holiday as well, so there's financial cost to that.
exactly.
Monies if you're doing sebedon, right? So there's many things.
There was an interesting survey last week,
Right.
about I think
Yeah, I was here.
Yeah, and it was about how people would prefer not to do the whole sebe thing.
And this might be one of the reasons why people are saying, you know what?
Exactly, it all ties in together.
Yeah, exactly.
자, adding to the burden, 부담, 짐이라는 뜻의 burden이 쓰였습니다. 그래서 경제적으로 계속 부담이 되고 있다라는 뜻이 되겠죠. 안 그래도 부담이 지금 있는데 더 많은 짐이 생기고 있다. 그런 의미로 보시면 되겠습니다. 다시 한번 읽어볼까요? The prices of apples, pears, and other agricultural products for ancestral rites have risen, adding to the burden on household budgets ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday. Moving on, this is headline number 2.
Farmers from countries across Europe, including the Netherlands, Belgium, and Greece, have staged mass demonstrations triggered by concerns over low wages, heavy regulation, and cheap imports.
저임금, 과도한 규제, 저렴한 수입 농산품에 대한 우려로 촉발된 농민들의 대규모 시위가 네덜란드, 벨기에, 그리스를 포함한 유럽 전역에서 이어졌습니다. Tell us more, Ray.
Well, I think everyone's probably seen clips of this over the last little bit. So there have been protests all across Europe. Farmers have just been clogging streets with their tractors, blocking ports, even pelting the European Parliament with eggs.
Oh, pelting means to throw.
Right. You hit something, makes that pelting sound.
Oh my goodness. And clogging means to make something stuck.
Make something stuck, right.
So farmers have been clogging roads, they've been pelting eggs. They are angry. Of course, the reasons are laid out here. Low wages, heavy regulation, cheap imports.
Yeah, a lot of red tape, they say as well. Red tape, bureaucracy, right.
All right. What's a mass demonstration, Ray?
Large protest. Another way to say it. So that's another way, different articles will say it differently. It's the same meaning, right? A demonstration is a protest. Mass means large.
대규모 시위니까요. 집단 시위라고 볼 수 있겠죠. 자, 그다음에는 triggered by something.
Caused by. That's
Yeah.
that thing that starts something. It's the trigger, you think of like a gun, you pull a trigger. So if something triggers something, it causes that thing to happen.
That's right. 방아쇠를 당기는 것처럼 이것으로 인해서 이것으로 촉발된이라는 뜻이 있습니다. So the protests here were triggered by concerns. 여러 가지 우려로 인해서 이런 시위가 일어났다. 이렇게 표현을 합니다.
And there have been some concessions already. The French government's offered 400 million euros to the farmers. At the EU levels, farmers want to compromise with Brussels that there was a delay. A delay was announced to these new rules that they wanted to implement, where farmers would have to set aside part of their land. So they've said, okay, you don't have to do that right now.
The farmers' voices are at least partially being heard.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think the politicians have a chance here, and there are elections coming up as well.
Right. Well, here's the headline again. Farmers from countries across Europe, including the Netherlands, Belgium, and Greece, have staged mass demonstrations triggered by concerns over low wages, heavy regulation, and cheap imports.
A British think tank has projected that the population of China will fall below 1.4 billion by 2035 as a result of fewer newborns and more deaths from an aging population.
중국 인구가 출산율 감소와 고령자 사망의 결과로 오는 2035년에는 14억 명을 밑돌 것으로 영국의 한 think-tank가 전망했습니다. The population of China is going down.
That's what they're expecting. Yeah, I've heard they have China referred to as a demographic time bomb as well.
Really?
Yeah, just because of this aging population. So this actually the main reason for this anticipated decline in the overall population is because of a reduced birth rate. That's what this think
the
tank
biggest
is.
thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what they're projecting. One of the big reasons for this is married couples have said high economic costs is one of the main reasons for having fewer children.
그렇죠. High economic costs. 너무나 경제적인 부담이 크다 보니까 젊은 부부들이 이제 아이를 낳지 않겠다 이렇게 선언을 하는 경우들이 계속 늘고 있고요. 그로 인한 reduced birth rate, 출산율 감소가 지금 심각한 문제랍니다.
Here's some interesting stats. So, according to the Economist Intelligence Unit, this is the one that put this report out, they said by 2035, China will have more than 450 million people who are aged above 60. That's going to be just over almost 33% of their population is going to be over 60.
Wow.
25% will be over 65.
Oh my goodness. And this is by 2035. 네, 2035년 관련된 여러 가지 지금 데이터를 쭉 보고 있는데 그중에 좀 눈에 띄는 게 2035년이면은 중국 인구의 3분의 1이 60세 이상일 것이다 라는 겁니다. 450 million, that's 4억 5천만 명.
Yeah, we'll be that old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's...
Wow.
Korea's got 50 million,
Yeah,
if that puts it in perspective.
Exactly. All right, let's have a look at our first expression. This comes as a result of something.
Because of, or due to that thing.
As a result of A라고 하면요. A 때문에 라는 뜻입니다. 그래서 as a result of fewer newborns. 더 이제 새로 태어나는 그런 아기들이 줄어들고 있기 때문에라는 뜻으로 as a result of fewer newborns.
I do have a little bit of bad news where I can use this example.
Okay.
This is all true as well.
Yeah.
So as a result of receiving 2 yellow cards in the Asian Cup, Kim Min-jae cannot play next game.
아,
So I
그렇죠.
am very worried about that because he's amazing.
Yeah, 옐로우 카드를 2개 받았기 때문에 as a result of receiving 2 yellow cards. 그래서 김민재 선수가 다음 게임에 출전을 하지 못한다.
We need some of those defenders to step up.
Exactly. But we still have Sonny.
Yeah, but you know, you got to keep the ball out of the net too.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes that's one thing. Sometimes the team looks a mess defensively. Klinsmann's teams tend to be like that, though.
But the goalkeeper, what's his name?
Joe something.
Yes.
Joe Hyun.
I forget his
Joe
name
Hyun-woo,
now.
I think
But he was amazing this time.
Oh,
he was really good.
He was incredible.
He was
Especially
really
at
good.
the end in that
Yeah.
stoppage time. Wow.
Oh my goodness. I'll try to remember his name as soon as I can.
It's Joe something.
Yes. The next expression is aging population.
Means the population is just getting older. So the proportion of the population will continue to be older.
그렇죠. aging이라는 게 노령화된다는 뜻이고 population은 인구니까요. 노령화되는 인구를 말합니다. 다시 한번 헤드라인 읽어볼게요. A British think tank has projected that the population of China will fall below 1.4 billion by 2035 as a result of fewer newborns and more deaths from an aging population. By the way, you can read the date 2 ways, right? 2035 or 2035.
Sure.
Both.
Yeah. I think nowadays, like I think for the knots as they call it, like 2001, 2000, that decade, people would always say 2004, 2005.
Right.
Now it seems to be switching. Now like 2020, 2022, everyone seems to say it like that.
아, 그렇군요. 이렇게 뭐 1995 하는 것처럼
Right.
끊어서 많이 얘기하기도 합니다. 자, 그러면 headline number 4 가볼까요?
A U.S. study shows that individuals aged 18 to 35, commonly referred to as Generation Z, are now opting to go to bed by 9 p.m. to ensure they can have a full 9 hours of sleep.
미국의 한 연구에 따르면 Z세대라고 불리는 18세부터 35세까지의 미국인들이 최근 9시간의 충분한 수면 시간을 확보하기 위해 밤 9시에 취침하는 것으로 나타났습니다. Well, this is a healthy trend, isn't it? People are sleeping more.
Yeah, that's what this study is showing, that especially this Gen Z, they seem to really be valuing their sleep. So
Right.
They found some other interesting things. This study showed that in Gen Z, they are actually drinking less alcohol than
wow.
previous generations. And as we know, an alcohol-free lifestyle helps with sleep, goes hand in hand with better sleep patterns, as well as things like weight loss and better energy.
Yes, absolutely. 정말 잠만 잘 자도 여러 가지 다른 문제들도 어느 정도 해소가 된다고 하죠. 지금 얘기한 것처럼 살을 빼는데도 이제 잠을 잘 자는 게 큰 도움이 된다고 하고 뭐 에너지 레벨이 올라가는 거는 뭐 말할 필요도 없고요. 그런데 정말 이제 요즘에 미국에서는 이 Gen Z라고 하죠. Generation Z. 그 18세에서 35세가 가능하면은 나는 9시간 이상 잔다. 그렇게 얘기를 많이들 응답을 했답니다.
If they like going to bed by 9 p.m., I don't think they'd like our job.
Well, why not? I think it's good if you go to bed early.
Hard for us sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah. 그래요. 그리고 술도 덜 마신다 그러고요. 예전 세대에 비해서. 자, 건강하네요. 자, 한번 보겠습니다. The first expression is commonly referred to as something.
That means something that people will usually call someone or call something. So we've mentioned Son Heung-min a few times. He's commonly referred to as Sunny.
Yes,
Or,
that's right.
the Korean national team, the Taeguk Warriors, they're commonly referred to as that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the goalkeeper, Jo Hyun-woo.
Jo Hyun-woo, okay.
Yes, he was amazing. I don't know if he has a nickname, but when you say someone is or something is commonly referred to as A, 그러면은 보통 A라고 불린다라는 뜻이죠.
It's like a nickname or an
Yeah.
unofficial title.
그렇습니다. 그래서 18세에서 35세를 흔히들 Gen Z라고 한다 이런 뜻으로 18 to 35-year-olds commonly referred to as Generation Z라고
Where
했습니다.
in Korea, they'll use the MG all the time.
MZ 세대.
MZ, which is
맞아요.
in the West, no one knows what that means because we break it down. It's too
right.
big of a.
It's not an official thing. It's not a universal thing. I think by country they have different ways of categorizing
Sure.
generations. And then when you're stuck in the middle, it's kind of vague. You know, which side are you exactly?
Right.
It's, you know.
We're actually technically millennials, you and I.
But I feel like Generation X.
But we're on the
I
line.
relate
So
to, yeah.
there's a new one. People are calling what we are, that, you know, the 81, 82 area as Xennials.
Okay.
Because we're
Is
a
that
little,
new one?
yeah, because we're a little bit on, you know, we kind of fit in the
In the middle.
in the middle of those two.
Because it's quite broad.
Yeah.
The millennials are like 20 years or 30
I think,
years.
yeah, it goes from
something.
like 80 or 81 to 96, right before the internet
okay.
really.
Does it?
Yeah, was really widespread.
Interesting. 자, 이런 세대 얘기할 때도 이런 age group는 they are commonly referred to as라고 말할 수 있겠죠. 자, 그다음에 to ensure something.
Make sure, make certain of something.
그래요. make sure of를 한 단어로 ensure라고 할 수 있습니다. 자, 그래서 뭐뭐 하게끔 한다, 보장한다라는 뜻이 있죠. 헤드라인에서는 to ensure they personally ensure they have 9 hours of sleep. 스스로 9시간은 내가 자도록 스스로 이렇게 보장한다. 그러니까 그렇게 한다는 얘기죠. 난 무조건 9시간은 자. 이렇게.
I try to drink a lot of water in the morning to ensure I get enough
Yeah.
water, because throughout the day you can forget, you get busy. So I always try to get at least a liter in me in the morning.
나는 1리터의 물을 마시려고 한다. 9시간의 잠을 꼭 자려고 한다. 이런 느낌으로 I try to ensure that I get 1 liter of water or plenty of sleep. Here it is again. A US study shows that individuals aged 18 to 34, commonly referred to as Generation Z, are now opting to go to bed by 9 p.m. to ensure they can have a full 9 hours of sleep. Right, here's our final headline.
An adventurous 3-year-old has been rescued from a claw machine in an Australian shopping center after crawling up the prize dispenser in search of toys. I definitely would have done this as a kid.
자, 호주의 한 쇼핑몰에서 모험심 강한 3살 어린이가 장난감이 갖고 싶어 인형 뽑기 기계 안으로 들어갔다가 구조되는 사건이 발생했습니다. Oh my goodness, what happened?
Have you seen the video? I think everyone's seen the video of that. If you haven't, take a look at it. It is funny because the boy's name is Ethan, and you can see him in those claw machines. They're really popular in Korea, right? He's just sitting there. He's just chilling out. He doesn't look too phased by this situation.
Well, he's only 3, so I guess he doesn't know any
he's 5,
better.
isn't he?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think he's 5.
Oh, okay. Is the age?
He's a
wrong.
bit bigger.
Ah.
He was a bit bigger than
Okay.
that.
Well, I got 3 in some of the reports, but I guess he's young anyway.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The funny thing was his father said that he just it was unbelievable how quickly his son got inside the machine. He said he turned his back for a split second while they were grocery shopping, and up he went into the machine.
It's amazing, and also unbelievable.
It is, yeah. I don't know. I find it. When I'm like, how did he get in there? I guess he was small enough to get into the chute. I don't know really how he did it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it looks like a normal, average size claw machine. It's
Right.
not
No.
gigantic.
No, exactly.
So, yeah. All right. The boy must have really wanted that toy.
Whatever it was, yeah, he really wanted it, but he was fine. The police got him out. Apparently, he followed instructions. He covered his eyes because they had to smash the glass of the machine to get him out.
오케이. 그래요. 이 인형 뽑기 기계를 영어로 claw machine이라고 해요. claw라는 거는 이제 그 새의 그 발톱 같은 것들도 아니면은 claws can be used for not only birds but other animals too, or is it just
Yeah,
birds?
no,
all animals.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
cats have claws.
그렇군요. 네, 고양이의 발톱 이런 것들도 다 이제 claw라고 부르는데 그렇게 좀 발톱 같이 생겼다?
You still refer to dogs. Dogs have claws as
Okay.
well.
Oh, so it's all animals.
Yeah, all animals. Yeah.
그래요. 그래서 이 인형 뽑기 기계를 이렇게 그 동물의 발톱 같이 생겼다라고 해서 그렇게 부르는 건데요. 그 안에 들어간 겁니다. This kid was adventurous.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? Yeah, you're adventure. If you're someone's adventurous, you're willing to try new things, take risks.
그래요.
Are you adventurous?
Sometimes
Yeah.
I can be. Yeah, I think I'm becoming less. But I don't know.
That's actually the sentence I made. Is
really?
I'll read it later.
Oh, okay. Okay. 자, 그래서 adventurous는 모험심이 강하다라는 뜻이죠. And what did the boy do? He crawled up.
Yeah, when you crawl, you're moving. How babies move. You move on your knees and your hands. So he crawled up the chute. You can also crawl out of somewhere. You can crawl through something. You can crawl into something.
That's right.
Yeah, I watched Die Hard on Christmas Eve, so that comes to mind. And that the famous scene where Bruce Willis is crawling through the air duct in the building.
chute. Yeah. Oh. 맞아요. I actually saw a recent picture of Bruce Willis.
Yeah, he's ill.
He's lost a lot of weight
Sure.
and he's gotten a lot older. But yeah, back then,
Yeah.
he was in that movie. Of course, he was crawling up the building. Crawl up라는 게 아주 기어 올라간다라는 뜻이 있습니다. 베이비들이 보통 이제 crawling, 기어 다닌다라고 말할 수 있고. What else crawls? Spiders?
Yeah, pandas.
Pandas crawl as
Yeah.
well? Okay.
Yeah.
기어다니는 걸 crawling 한다고 하고요. up니까 올라간다라는 뜻이 되겠죠.
I'm seeing lots of videos of Louis Bao and Hui Bao, and I like watching them crawl around.
You really love pandas,
Yep.
don't you?
Yep.
진짜. 자, 그리고 dispenser는 이 자판기거든요. prize dispenser, 선물이 나오는 기기, 이 인형 뽑기 기계를 말합니다.
Did you have a Pez dispenser when you were a kid? Those
what?
were Pez dispenser.
No, what's that?
Pez was this little hard candy, and then you could buy these little plastic tubes that had, a character on them, and you'd put your Pez in there.
Oh, no, I don't
Really?
know what that is actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that was more of a North American thing then.
Or maybe I just missed out.
Maybe.
Right. Here's the headline again. An adventurous 3-year-old has been rescued from a claw machine in an Australian shopping centre after crawling up the prize dispenser in search of toys.
Vietnam retained its position as South Korea's third largest trading partner for the second consecutive year in 2023, after China and the United States, once again exceeding Japan in trade volume.
네, 베트남이 지난해 우리나라와의 교역 규모에서 중국과 미국에 이어 2년 연속으로 일본을 제치고 3위에 올랐습니다. So when it comes to trade partners, we have China, the US, not Japan, but Vietnam.
Yes, for the second consecutive year, I should say that figures are down, but it's still the third biggest trading partner. We have the data from the Korea International Trade Association. Exports to Vietnam came to $53.49 billion last year. Imports from Vietnam to Korea were $25.94 billion, and that means we have a trade surplus of $27.5 billion. It's quite a lot of trading going on. However, that was shrinking from the previous year, from 2022, declining by about 12.3% when it comes to exports to Vietnam, 2.9% imports into Korea, and so the trade surplus shrank by 19.5%.
But
That
still,
said,
there's a trade surplus.
It's a really good thing. I did not know that Vietnam was the third largest trading partner.
Yeah.
But here we have. It's quite incredible. So the trade volume is about $79.4 billion. That's about 30% of the equivalent trade with China and 42% for the US. So it's a lot of trade going on here. Japan, well, I mean, it's still trading with Korea, but it's dropped beneath Vietnam.
Yeah, overall trade with Vietnam was $79 billion roughly, as you
Yes.
said, but Japan 76 billion. So, yeah, Vietnam is ahead. And that is surprising, as you said, but it's been 2 consecutive years. You mentioned trade surplus. The opposite would obviously be a trade deficit. Yep, and you often use the term to post a trade surplus, or you could say record a trade surplus.
Yeah, there are lots of ways to say it, and if you're a fan of economic news and you read it in English, you'll see a lot of different variations.
네, 그렇습니다. 무역수지 흑자 그리고 무역수지 적자라는 표현과 더불어서 동사도 사실 굉장히 다양하게 쓸 수 있는데요. 이것을 기록했다라는 뜻의 post 여기서 설명을 해주셨습니다. 자, 그러면은 베트남이 이렇게 여전히 2년째 3위를 유지하고 있다라는 표현부터 볼게요.
Yes, it retained its position, meaning it kept it.
Yes.
If you retain something, you keep it to yourself. You hang on to it. So we can talk about it in terms of an item. We can talk about it in terms of position, in terms of clients or contracts. It just means we're keeping hold of whatever it is.
네. 자, retain A라고 하면은요. A라는 것을 내가 계속해서 붙잡고 있다는 뜻입니다. 그래서 Vietnam retained its position. 이 위치, 3위라는 자리를 여전히 꽉 붙잡고 있다. 비슷하지만 다른 표현 remain이 있어요. 자, 그때 remain B라고 하면은 B라는 상태를 유지하고 있다는 겁니다. 네, 무언가 내가 붙잡고 있는 게 아니고요.
네.
그러니까 만약에 Vietnam remained라고 하고 싶으면 Vietnam remained the third largest trading partner. 이렇게 가야
Exactly.
돼요. 네.
Whereas retained here feels more active. It feels like Vietnam is
You are
working
holding
to
on
be
to
that
it.
partner. Yes.
That's right. 그래서 retain과 remain이 한 글자 차이긴 하지만 사용하는 방법이 좀 다릅니다. 자, 여기서는 Vietnam retained its position. 그 다음으로 trading partner.
Yes, trading partner is a term we often use for countries, but it can be for companies or even individuals, I suppose.
Sure.
It's the country or the group or the individual that you're continually trading with, buying and selling. Not just one time, not infrequently. We're talking about on a regular basis.
That's right. trading, 무역을 하는 파트너니까요. 무역 상대국, 교역국이 되겠죠. 이 파트너라는 단어를 또 언제 많이 쓰냐면 재밌는 표현이 있는데요. partner in crime이라는 표현이
Sue, you get us in trouble.
이게 굉장히 재밌는 표현이에요. 왜냐하면은 이 원래 의미는 범죄를 같이 하는 사람이지만 그 의미를 비유적으로 그냥 같이 일하는 사람, 나랑 굉장히 잘 맞는 쿵짝이 맞는 사람이라는 뜻으로 casually 하게 써요.
Yeah, the perfect example I can think of on EBS is Kristen and Cameron are the perfect partners in crime for Power English.
그러니까 이게 굉장히 재밌게 쓰는 표현이거든요. 조킹하는 느낌이 있기 때문에 둘이 쿵짝이 너무 잘 맞고 그다음에 농담도 잘 주고받고 이럴 때 they are partners in crime.
Yeah, because it feels like they're a little bit naughty,
Yes, yes.
but they're having
맞아요.
lots of fun. So yeah,
그렇죠.
it's a very cute term to use. So
네.
if you have a best friend you're always hanging out, maybe you get a bit silly with, or you go drinking or go to the 노래방 together, you can say they're my partner in crime.
맞아요. 저희 방송 바로 전에 크리스틴하고 캐머런 선생님이 같이 방송을 하시잖아요. 근데 저도 들을 때마다 어쩜 이렇게 재밌게 끽끽깔깔 웃으면서
네.
방송을 하실까. 근데 방송 외에도 너무나 사이가 좋고 둘이 진짜 그렇게 뭐라 그래야 되지? 이 대화가 너무 잘 맞더라고요.
Yeah, they're really good friends.
그래서 저는 그 보면서 와, 이 조합 진짜 생각하신 PD분 너무 대단하시다라는 생각이 좀 들었어요. 우리가 지금 이렇게 긴 시간 동안 크리스틴 선생님과 캐머런 선생님 얘기하는 걸 알고 계실까? 좀 이따 연락 한번 해봐야겠네요.
네네네.
Partners in crime, 그래서 파트너라는 단어가 또 이렇게 또 쓰인다. 알아두시면 될 것 같아요. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Vietnam retained its position as South Korea's third largest trading partner for the second consecutive year in 2023, after China and the United States, once again exceeding Japan in trade volume. Now let's move on to the next headline.
The Cultural Heritage Administration has said it is looking to make progress in talks with the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, Massachusetts, regarding the repatriation of a Goryeo-era Buddhist reliquary.
문화재청은 고려시대 불교 성물 보관함인 사리구의 반환 문제를 놓고 현재 미국 보스턴 미술관 측과 협상을 진행 중이라고 밝혔습니다. Tell us more, Paul.
Well, this is the ongoing efforts of the Cultural Heritage Administration to reclaim items that belong to Korea but have ended up in the hands of foreign nationals or foreign museums. And so they're having a meeting Monday local time in the US, so it may well be going on right now. And the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston have said they're going to review any claims of theft if such evidence is presented. And this item, it's from the Goryeo dynasty. So we're talking about like 918 AD to 1392 AD. And what it is this relic contains what they call sarira, which is the remains of Buddhist masters after they've been cremated. So it's a holy relic containing holy remains. There were talks before, just over a decade ago in 2013, but they broke down. So I think everybody is hoping that maybe the Museum of Fine Arts and the CHA can come to an agreement and this reliquary can be returned to its place of origin.
CHA, the Cultural Heritage Administration, 문화재청 얘기를 하고 있는 거고요. Talks and discussions, 여러 가지 논의와 협상이 계속 진행되어 왔다. 이제 좀 진전이 있다라는 뜻으로 they have made progress.
Yes, meaning they're improving the situation. The situation is getting better. They're moving along in whatever process it may be. I hope all of our listeners, if you're actively studying English, that you're making progress just a little bit every single day or every single week.
네. Are you making progress? 라고 한다면은 진전이 좀 있나요?
네.
라는 의미가 되겠습니다. 그 다음에 좀 어려운 단어가 하나 있는데요.
Even to pronounce it is difficult.
네, 뭐죠?
Reliquary or reliquary.
Reliquary.
Yes. So reliquary. This is not a word you're going to use in casual conversation, but if you go to the National Museum, for example, you might use it because it is a special container for some kind of holy relic, like the ashes of these monks, or it
Right.
could be a bone or a fragment of something that means a lot to whatever religious order is protecting it, looking after it.
네, 성골함이라는 뜻이고요. 스펠링이 reliquary가 되겠습니다. Here's the headline again. The Cultural Heritage Administration has said it's looking to make progress with the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, Massachusetts, regarding the repatriation of a Goryeo-era Buddhist reliquary.
China has kicked off its busiest annual period of mass migration, with a record 9 billion domestic trips expected to be made during a 40-day travel rush around the Lunar New Year holidays, according to state media.
중국이 춘절 인구 대이동이 일어나는 연중 가장 바쁜 시기를 맞이했다고 관영 언론이 보도했습니다. 올해는 설 연휴를 전후한 특별 수송 기간인 40일 동안 40억 회라는 기록적인 수의 국내 이동이 이뤄질 것으로 예상됐습니다.
I thought last year there was a lot of travel. There were 4.7 billion trips in that same period. We're almost double.
Yeah,
9 billion expected.
Right.
We're talking about millions of people basically traveling back to their hometown in the same way that we will this weekend. You know, a lot of people will be traveling back for Solal. 80% of these 9 billion trips they think will be self-driving road trips, which is a record. And then the rest are going to be rail, air, and water.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of people traveling during this 40-day period, and a lot of tickets have been sold. It's difficult to get train tickets, and they're looking at air travel to be surging by 80 million, up 9.8% from before the pandemic. So it seems like China is really back in business when it comes to celebrating the Lunar New Year.
네. 90억 회라는 기록적인 수의 국내 이동이 이뤄질 것으로 그렇게 전망이 되고 있네요. 자, 첫 번째 표현 보겠습니다. China has kicked off its busiest season.
Well, let's talk about, was it the Asian Cup that's been going on?
Yes, it's still going on.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've been too busy to watch. It's been on too late for me. But yeah, if you've been watching, and I'm sure many of our listeners have, then you've been waiting each night for the kickoff, which is the literal start of the game when the ball gets kicked. But you use this term kickoff to mean the start, the beginning, when something begins.
네. 축구에서도 이렇게 시작할 때 kick-off 한다라고 하지만 우리가 그 외에도 비유적으로 뭔가 시작을 할 때 to kick off라고 하죠. 이게 한 단어로 쓸 수도 있어요.
네.
You could say there has been a kick-off.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's a verb.
Exactly. So you can say the party kicks off at 8 p.m. tonight.
그래요. 자, 그 다음에 mass migration.
Yes, mass meaning a lot, meaning many, many people. In this case, we're looking at, I don't know, millions upon millions. And migration is some kind of movement over a long distance. In this case, it's not necessarily international. It may be domestic, but China's a very big country. So we'll see mass migration this weekend in Korea as people move from out of Seoul down to Busan or Jeonju or Gwangju or Daegu or Gangneung or wherever they're going.
Yeah, another word for mass migration in this case would be an exodus.
Well, yes, but that's specifically that people are leaving one place.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're a little bit different, but yes,
Okay.
we can say, for example, Thursday night, Friday morning, there's going to be an exodus from Seoul. A lot of people are going to be leaving Seoul to go back to their families' hometowns.
Got it. Okay, here's the headline again. China has kicked off its busiest annual period of mass migration, with a record 9 billion domestic trips expected to be made during a 40-day travel rush around the Lunar New Year holidays, according to state media. I don't know if in China they use the term Lunar New Year's. They probably just go with Chinese New Year.
Yes, and there's always a bit of controversy about that all over the world, about what term is appropriate. Here in Korea, though, Lunar New Year.
Indeed. Let's move on to the next headline.
The napkin that secured Lionel Messi's first Barcelona contract, bearing the date December 14th, 2000, is set to go up for auction in the UK with a starting price of £300,000, or roughly 500 million won.
2000년 12월 14일 이 날짜와 함께 축구 선수 리오넬 메시의 FC 바르셀로나 첫 계약 내용이 담긴 냅킨이 경매에 나올 예정입니다. 시작가는 30만 파운드, 우리 돈으로 약 5억 원입니다. 굉장히 특별한 휴지네요. Tell us more about this napkin.
Well, it's gone up for sale thanks to the agent who organised the deal, Horacio Gagioli. And, well, if you're very rich and you're a fan, you can participate. The auction is from March 18th to the 27th. And I guess if you're a really big fan of Messi, this is going to be a really big deal.
Sure.
But it's a very small object.
It's so special, though, and meaningful, isn't it?
It really is, because this was December 14th, 2000. This was all done sort of, at the dinner table, as it were.
Yeah.
And it was all done on a napkin. This contract was outlined, so it wasn't the full contract.
Right.
But on this 16.5 by 16.5 centimetre napkin, it basically said that, Messi will be signed to Barcelona according to the amounts that have been agreed upon.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
was it. Later on that evening, they signed a proper contract. They officially transferred him. But this was the piece of paper, or the piece of tissue, that got him the gig.
Exactly. It's framed right now, so it's hard to tell exactly what material it's made of, but it looks like it's roughly about 20 by 20 centimeters, maybe a little bit bigger than that.
16.5 to be
okay.
accurate.
Okay. 그래요. 20cm가 조금 안 되게 정사각형 냅킨이고요. 지금 이제 액자 안에 거의 모셔져 있습니다. 글씨도 뭐 이것저것 많이 쓴 걸 알 수 있는데, 자, 굉장히 특별한 의미가 담긴 이 냅킨이 경매에 나올 예정입니다. So this napkin secured Lionel Messi's first contract with FC Barcelona.
Yes. When we think of the word secure, I think the first meaning for a lot of people may be safe. You secure something, meaning you make it safe. However, the meaning here is a little bit different, because if we're securing a contract or securing a position, means we're getting it. We're succeeding in obtaining it or capturing it.
Exactly.
So, for example, an army might secure a city, meaning they take over and capture the city. So in this case, it's not about keeping the contract safe. It was getting the contract in the first place.
Exactly. 네, 여기서 말하는 secure라는 건 뭔가 확보하다라는 뜻이 있습니다. I believe Lionel Messi was very young at the time when this was signed.
Oh, yeah, but this is 24 years ago.
Yeah.
He's just a little baby at the
I think
time.
He was 12 years old, so yeah, there you go. Everything was scribbled on this napkin, but it was a proper contract nonetheless. The next expression to look at is it bears a date.
Yes, if something bears something, it carries something, quite literally. So in this case, it has the date on it. So we have, for example, I'm always fascinated by old graveyards, and you look at these tombstones that bear the dates and names of people long past.
Right.
Where it will literally have the person's name and the date they were born and the date they will die. That is born on the tombstone. And we use bear just to mean to carry. You can also bear troubles, you can bear problems, you can bear the vitriol of others, whatever it may be, meaning you endure it, you get through it, you survive it.
네, 뭐 견뎌낸다라는 뜻도 있죠. bear라는 게 B-E-A-R. 여기서는 날짜가 적혀 있다라는 뜻으로 bearing the date, December 14th, 2000라고 써 있습니다. 이제 백스토리를 좀 설명을 드리자면은 그때 당시에 FC 바르셀로나의 스카우팅 담당이었던 찰스 레자크가 우연히 이제 보게 된 거예요. 리오넬 메시 12살이었던 이제 젊은 메시를 보고 공을 잡고 공을 차고 하는 모습 그것만 봐도 얘는 천재적인 축구 선수다. 그걸 한눈에 알아봤대요. 그래서 그 자리에서 이제 나랑 계약서 쓰자. 그래서 뭐 없어? 냅킨 있구나. 냅킨 꺼내. 그래서 거기서 바로 이렇게 계약서를 착착착 쓴 겁니다. 그 정도로 놓치기 아까웠던 선수 정말 보는 안목이 있었죠? 그 얘기를 나눠봤습니다. 자, 다시 한번 헤드라인 읽어볼게요. The napkin that secured Lionel Messi's first Barcelona contract bearing the date December 14th, 2000 is set to go up for auction in the UK with a starting price of £300,000 or roughly 500 million won. Let's move on to the next headline.
A coffee shop in China has raised eyebrows by putting fried chili and hot pepper powder in their lattes, and videos of the quirky drink have gone viral, with the cafe selling up to 300 cups a day.
중국의 한 커피 전문점이 튀긴 고추와 고춧가루를 넣은 라떼 음료를 내놔 이목을 집중시킨 가운데 이 특이한 음료를 찍은 영상이 인기를 끌면서 하루 300잔까지 판매되고 있는 것으로 나타났습니다. So it's a spicy coffee.
It is. Have you got red pepper powder in your tea this morning?
Let me double check. No.
No, this is quite incredible. It was launched in Gansu, in Jiangxi province, last December. It's become very, very popular. It's about just under $3 US dollars a cup, about 20 yuan. And, well, the people working there say it's not really spicy. And it's not as weird as people may think. It's actually quite delicious.
And people of that region, they love spicy food.
Well, that's the thing. It seems like the big trend in China is whatever food is popular in your region then sort of gets transferred to drinks. So last year in the autumn, there was one place that was infusing coffee with a traditional Chinese liquor. There was another place that was using crushed preserved egg in their lattes. And another region that's famous for its vinegar was adding vinegar to its Americanos.
Wow.
I don't know how I feel about this, Sue.
Well, this has definitely raised some eyebrows.
It has. If you're watching on the Boyden Radio, both our eyebrows are raised, meaning they're lifted up, meaning we are surprised, we are shocked, we are stunned, we are flabbergasted.
네, 눈썹이 올라갔다라는 이 표현 자체로 굉장히 놀랐다라는 뜻이 있거든요.
Yes, it can be used for just simply when someone is surprised, or it can be when there is something scandalous.
그럴 때도 진짜.
People raise eyebrows at whoever celebrity is dating whichever celebrity.
네. 그러니까 한편으로는 굉장히 놀라다 이렇게 해석을 할 수 있고 또 맥락에 따라서는 눈살을 찌푸리다라고 해석을 할 수도 있어요. 여기서는 사실 그냥 very surprised인 것도 있고 또 한편으로는 이게 뭐야? 눈살을 찌푸리는 의미도 다 될 수 있을 것 같아요. 어쨌든 인기입니다.
네.
지금 보니까 this quirky drink is selling like hotcakes.
Yeah, well, selling like hot coffees.
Like hot, spicy coffees.
Yes, quirky here, Quirky, means something that's a little bit odd, a little bit strange, but in a positive way. We don't use it in a negative sense. If you just say strange or odd, it could be that you don't like it. But if we say quirky, there's a sense that it's something good. For American sitcom fans, the actress Zooey Deschanel, she was in a sitcom called New Girl that was very famous. I think it was also broadcast here, where she played the quirky girl, meaning she was a little bit strange, a little bit odd, a little bit funny, but much loved by everyone.
Even in that movie 400 Days of Summer,
Yes.
she played a quirky girl.
That's her type. Yeah, she's a quirky type.
네, 좀 특이하다라는 뜻인데요. 느낌으로 말하자면은 그 400 Days of Summer에서 저는 사실 엽기적인 그녀의 그 느낌이 좀 있었던 것 같아요.
Well, yeah, we can describe the 엽기적인 그녀 as a quirky romantic comedy.
네, 그냥 특이한데 사랑스럽기도 해. 이런 느낌인 거죠. 그래서 어쨌든 이 커피가 특이해요. 그렇다고 뭐 엄청 싫은 건 아니고 인기도 있으니까 별나다, quirky라는 말을 이렇게 썼습니다. 다시 한번 읽어볼게요. A coffee shop in China has raised eyebrows by putting fried chili and hot pepper powder in their lattes, and videos of the quirky drink have gone viral, with the cafe selling up to 300 cups a day. And that's it for today's headline.
More than 28 million people are expected to travel during the Lunar New Year holiday this year, mostly by car, with February 10th expected to see the highest number of travelers at 6.6 million people.
올해 설 명절 연휴 동안 2,800만 명 이상이 주로 승용차를 이용해 이동할 것으로 예상되는 가운데 설 당일인 2월 10일에 가장 많은 인원이 몰릴 것으로 보입니다. Tell us more.
Right. So are you planning on visiting your hometown or your family during the
Yeah,
Lunar
my
New Year holidays?
in-laws.
Yeah.
But in my case, I'll be taking the plane.
The plane,
But
right.
yeah, I guess if it were elsewhere in Korea, then I would probably be driving or maybe taking the train. Yeah.
Right. Driving or train, that's probably what a lot of people are planning on using as their form of transportation to visit their families during the upcoming holiday. So this is according to the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport. They did some research and they predicted, they always do this before the major holidays.
Sure.
They predicted that a total of 28.52 million people will be traveling during this Lunar New Year holiday with an average of about 5.7 million people per day. And they say this is an increase compared to last year when we still were kind of worried about COVID. So a lot of people were kind of, we're thinking maybe we should just stay home, not meet with a lot of people. So they say that it's about a 2.3 increase for the number of people who will be traveling and 3.1% increase for cars compared to last year. So they say that from the 8th to the 12th, the 5 days will be designated as a special transportation plan period, and related organizations will jointly implement this sort of plan to make sure that the roads that people are traveling, the roads are safe, not too many people are on the roads, or maybe keep track of how many cars or how many people are on the roads. So you will be not part of the 90-something percent.
92%.
Yeah,
I think.
around
Yeah,
92%. I think it was like 91.9% travelers who are expected to use their own cars or passenger vehicles. And I think it was followed by using the train or by inner city and charter buses. And then about 2% of people will be traveling by air. For me this year, it will be the first time in a long time that I'm not going to be going to visit my family. We're actually traveling abroad.
Oh, nice.
And they did have a percentage of people who will be doing that, either traveling domestically or traveling abroad. They say about 19.6% of people are traveling or going to travel to places other than their hometowns.
Interesting. 자, 일단은 설 연휴 동안에 고속도로에 어느 정도의 차가 있을 것인지 그 이동량을 추측을 해본 것이고요. 이제 설문조사에 의하면은 하루 평균 한 570만 명 정도가 움직일 것으로
It's a lot of
보여집니다.
people.
네, 작년에 비해서 2.3% 올랐다라고 하고요. 이제 설 당일에 600만 명 가장 많은 인원수가 동시에 이제 이동할 것으로 예상이 되고, 그 다음에는 이번에 이제 승용차를 이용하는 그 설 연휴 동안에 이동할 때 승용차를 모는 경우가 92%로 이제 뭐 대다수가 되겠습니다.
I remember one year. It was a long time ago, but our in-laws and my family, they all live in Daejeon, which is about a 2-hour drive away. It took us 9 hours to get there. I think it was either for Chuseok or for Lunar New Year's. So after that, we tried to take the train if possible.
Was this, do you think, in the early 2000s or late 90s? Or,
yeah. Not late 90s,
Okay.
but maybe not even early 2000s, maybe late 2000s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
네, 그래요. 그 정말 이제 길이 많이 막혔던 뭐 그런 기억이나 추억 한 번쯤은 다 있으실 것 같아요. 이번에는 잘 좀 이렇게 안배를 하시면 될 것 같고, 뉴스에도 계속 업데이트가 되니까 참고하시면 될 것 같습니다. 이제 아무래도 목요일부터 이동하시는 분들도 많이 계실 테고, 이제 금, 토, 일, 월 이렇게 이동량을 쭉 보게 되면은 설 당일날이 가장 많을 것으로 지금 예상되는 가운데, 마지막 날인 월요일에 좀 그나마 좀 적은 460만 명.
It's still a lot.
네, still a lot. 그래요. 자, 이렇게 지금 전망을 하고 예상을 하고 있는데, this is what's expected.
That's right. So, if something is expected to happen, it means it's considered likely or probable to happen. So it's regarded as likely to happen, or you kind of anticipate that something will happen.
그렇죠. Be expected to happen. 무엇이 일어날 것으로 예상된다라는 뜻이 되겠습니다. 자, 그다음에 mostly.
Right, mostly. A lot of different words you can use instead of mostly. Mainly, chiefly, largely, primarily. So it means for the greatest part or in large degree or amount. So you can also use mostly to indicate that a statement, if you say, oh, it's mostly true, then you say that it's kind of like the majority of things or people, or it's true most of the time or true in most respects.
That's right. 대부분이라는 의미가 있습니다. 그래서 mostly true 그러면은 거의 사실이다. 대부분 사실이다. Mostly by car 그러면 대부분이 승용차를 몰고 갈 것이다. 이런 뜻이 되겠죠. Alright, so here's the headline again. More than 28 million people are expected to travel during the Lunar New Year holiday this year, mostly by car, with February 10th expected to see the highest number of travelers at 6.6 million people. Here's our next headline.
The Ministry of Health and Welfare has announced it plans to increase the number of medical students by 2,000 next year in a bid to address the chronic shortages of doctors in rural areas and the essential healthcare field.
보건복지부는 지역 의료와 필수 의료 분야의 만성적 의사 수 부족 문제를 해결하기 위해 내년 의과대학 입학 정원을 2,000명 증원한다고 발표했습니다. Okay, so what's the overall number we're looking at here, I wonder?
So they say that the quota for medical school admissions, it's going to expand by 2,000 or 65.4% of this year's quota. So they're announcing that they are going to expand the quota to 5,058.
Right.
And this is for the first time since 2006.
네, 그렇습니다. 그러니까 내년 같은 경우에는요, 의대 입학 정원을 2,000명 늘려서 5,000명이 조금 넘는 정도의 입학 정원으로 가겠다는 거죠. Tell us more.
Right. So they announced this measure, but it is expected to draw a lot of protests from doctors. Their claim is that establishing public hospitals and offering better salaries would be more effective to encourage doctors to work in these rural areas or the essential healthcare field. And by essential healthcare field, we're talking about internal medicine. They say there's a shortage of surgeons, like neurosurgeons. Because a lot of these young med school graduates are choosing to work in dermatology or, fields that are considered non-essential. So they said the KMA, it's the Korean Medical Association, which is a lobby group of doctors, they're warning that it would launch a nationwide strike if the government, without any discussion with them, without, negotiations, if they unilaterally push for the raising of the medical school enrollment quota. And Korea has been facing a shortage of doctors in these crucial areas. As I mentioned, medical professionals, they tend to practice or want to practice in these non-essential areas because there's lower risks, so lower, chances that you'll get sued by someone. And then they say that because we're also an aging country, the demand for emergency care and the essential care has surged in these past few years.
It looks like the Korean Medical Association is saying, you didn't consult us.
Yeah.
This is
Kind of just doing this on your own.
Unilateral decision from the government.
Yeah.
And so they are in many ways against this. Let's have a look at the first expression. In a bid to do something.
Right. So you can use this expression in a bid to do something when you're talking about, your efforts to do something. So in efforts to do something would be a very similar expression that you could use instead.
네. In a bid to do something. 무언가를 하기 위해서라는 뜻이 있습니다. 그래서 to do something으로 대체할 수도 있지만요. 이게 조금 더 공식적인 느낌이 있습니다. 자, 그다음에 chronic.
Right. So chronic, when you're talking about a chronic, like a problem, it means it's a long-lasting and difficult sort of problem. You can also use chronic when you're talking about illnesses.
Yeah.
If an illness persists for a very long time or if it keeps coming back, like back pain or neck pain, a lot of people have because we use our computers all the time.
Yeah.
You could call it a chronic back pain or chronic neck pain.
네. 만성적인 질병들, 그냥 계속해서 허리가 늘 아프다라는 얘기를 할 때 I have chronic back pain 할 수도 있고 I guess you could say the same for headaches or insomnia, things like that as well. If it just goes on for a while. 만성적인 무언가, chronic라고 합니다. Okay, here's the headline again. The Ministry of Health and Welfare has announced it plans to increase the number of medical students by 2,000 next year in a bid to address the chronic shortages of doctors in rural areas and the essential healthcare field.
At least 122 people have died in wildfires raging across central Chile, with the death toll expected to climb further as residents, firefighters, and military continue to clear rubble in residential areas.
칠레 중부 지역을 뒤덮은 산불로 지금까지 최소 122명이 사망했습니다. 주민과 소방관, 군 병력이 피해 주거지의 잔해를 계속 치우는 과정에서 이 숫자는 앞으로 더 늘어날 것으로 보입니다. In fact, as we speak, the number has gone up.
Yeah.
Give us the latest.
Right. The latest updates say that the death toll has risen to 131.
네.
So, as we mentioned, the numbers are climbing, as you mentioned, as we speak.
그래요. 지금 이제 사망자 수가 131명으로 늘었다라는 업데이트가 들어오고 있습니다. 이렇게 사망자 수가 늘었다라고 할 때 the death toll has risen to 131. 이렇게 몇 명으로 늘었다. 이렇게 얘기할 수 있겠습니다. 자, 그러면 한번 더 들어볼까요? What happened?
Yeah, so it's being called Chile's worst natural disaster in years. And these wildfires that are raging across the country, the central regions of Chile, are said to be caused by severe heat waves. So as we said, the toll from this natural disaster is expected to climb further as they're trying to clear the rubble in residential areas of the coastal cities of Valparaiso and Vina del Mar, where these fireballs are just consuming houses within minutes. So the country has begun an official 2-day mourning period on Monday, and not only is the death toll climbing, but hundreds of people are still missing, and they say about 14,000 homes have been damaged by these fires.
이 산불이 확산하는 표현을 raging wildfires라고 했는데요.
Yeah.
Rage is actually like an angry emotion, isn't
That
it?
is right. Yeah.
So it's almost like an angry fire.
Yeah.
그렇게 지금 묘사를 하고 있습니다. 그래서 산불이 지금 아주 많이 확산을 해서 피해자가 많이 나왔다라는 표현을 또 이 원래 분노를 뜻하는 그 rage가 들어간 동사로 표현하기도 한다라는 것. 자, 그러면 이제 첫 번째 표현을 보도록 할 텐데요. The death toll is expected to climb further.
Right. So when you're climbing something, you're going up a mountain or up a hill. So when you say the numbers are expected to climb further, it means the numbers are expected to increase or go up more or grow.
그렇습니다. Climb, 오르다, further, 더. 그래서 사망자 수가 더 오를 것으로 보인다. Residential area?
Right. A residential area is kind of like a district where people live. And, you say commercial area as opposed to residential area. So commercial areas are where you see like shopping centers or like a big department store. But residential areas are mostly consists of private residences.
네. 주택가나 주거지를 residential area라고 얘기를 합니다. 자, 그리고 또 지금 우리가 칠리 얘기를 하니까 we're talking about South America here. We have a really good question from one of our listeners actually. 안진남 님이요. 이 남미와 관련된 질문이 있다고 South America하고 Latin America가 같은 건가요? 라는 질문과 더불어서 Spanish와 Espanol 이 같은 말인가요? 이런 질문을 주셨는데 이것도 살짝 언급을 하고 갈게요.
Yeah.
네, 똑같진 않죠. South America, Latin America.
I think in general, we refer to that area as South America, but South America is more like a geographical term. So it's talking about the continent that's kind of below that little strip that connects North America and South America. But when we talk about Latin America, I think it's more of a cultural thing. We're talking about people who live in that region
Yeah.
who speak Spanish, who share some of the similar cultures
That's
there.
right. 네, Latin America라고 하면은 Mexico, Central America, and the countries in the Caribbean and South America 다 포함입니다. 스페인어를 쓰는 나라들이라서 이 Latin America는 지형적으로 구별하는 것보다 문화적으로 구별하는 표현이다라고 보시면 되겠고요. South America는 지형적으로 보는 거죠. 네, 그런 의미에서는 멕시코는 North America지만 스페인어 쓰잖아요.
Yeah.
Latin America 권이라고 보면 있죠. 되게 라틴계 이렇게 보시면 되겠습니다. So all Spanish-speaking countries, not Spain though.
Right, except Spain.
그렇죠. 스페인은 라틴 아메리카 아니고 유럽에 있고 당연히.
But it's
근데
interesting because, you know, Brazil, they speak Portuguese, but it's also considered a
그거 맞아요.
Latin American country.
That's right.
Yeah.
Spanish and Portuguese, they seem
They're
similar,
yeah.
but actually
They're very different.
Very
Yeah.
different. 네네, 그렇습니다. 저는 개인적으로 이제 그 포르투기스가 조금 더 읽기 어렵더라고요. 제가 읽는 방법은 다 예전에 배웠었어요. 월드뮤직 프로그램을 예전에 진행한 적이 있어서.
So we're learning every day.
네네.
right?
그래서 이거 제가 하지는 못해도 읽는 방법은 다 배웠는데 이 포르투기스가 조금 어렵더라고요. 네, 제가 개인적으로 그렇게 좀 느꼈었고 스페니쉬하고 에스파뇰이 같은 거냐? 네, 같은 거예요.
Yes.
스페니쉬는 영어고 에스파뇰은 스페인어로 스페인어라는 뜻이 되겠습니다.
That's right.
자, 다시 한번 헤드라인 읽어볼게요. At least 122 people have died in wildfires raging across central Chile, with the death toll expected to climb further as residents, firefighters, and military continue to clear rubble in residential areas. Okay, let's move on.
Germany's economy and finance ministers have floated the idea of reforming the country's corporate taxes, aiming to make local companies more competitive in light of numerous challenges, including high energy costs.
독일 경제부 장관과 재무장관은 높은 에너지 비용 등 여러 난관에 직면한 자국 기업들의 경쟁력 제고를 위해 법인세 개혁안을 공개 제안했습니다. Tell us more, Karen.
Right. So, you know, the economy and finance ministers, they're kind of thinking maybe we should reform our country's corporate taxes. The reform would aim to make local companies more competitive in light of these challenges that I think we're all facing around the world with these high energy costs, with inflation. So the economy minister said that Germany has an overall corporate taxation that is no longer competitive and conducive to investment. So he added that they would add, or it would cost around, this new reform measure would cost around 30 billion euros and a year to lower the country's corporate tax rate to about 25% from the roughly 30% that it is now, which is higher than in other countries.
So people are saying Germany's getting poorer, the economic growth rate is going down, and so the government is trying to come up with measures to counter that.
Right.
Let's have a look at the first expression, and it's to float an idea.
Right. So here, you know, we're using this expression to say that nothing's been set in stone. He's kind of suggesting that maybe this is what we need to get our
Right.
country back on track in terms of the economy, make it more competitive compared to other countries. So when you're floating an idea, you can kind of picture something floating around. It means it's not set. It means it's not, you know, something that's concrete. So it means to suggest an idea. It's usually used in cases where this idea is kind of unusual, maybe unexpected, with the objective of trying to figure out if people would be happy with this plan or not.
float라는 게 물 위에 뜬다라는 뜻이 될 수도 있고요. 허공에 떠 있다라는 뜻이 될 수
It's
있습니다.
moving around.
That's right.
Yeah.
그래서 이렇게 확정된 아이디어가 아니고요. 이런 제안을 했다라는 뜻으로 float an idea라고 합니다. 자, 그다음에 numerous challenges.
Right, numerous means there's a lot, so many. And challenges refer to something that needs a lot of mental or maybe physical effort in order to be done successfully. So it kind of tests your ability to do something.
Indeed. Numerous, 많다. Challenges, 난관, 여러 가지 난관. Germany's economy and finance ministers have floated the idea of reforming the country's corporate taxes, aiming to make local companies more competitive in light of numerous challenges, including high energy costs. And now let's move on to our final headline.
Britain's King Charles III has been diagnosed with a form of cancer and will step back from public-facing duties while he undergoes treatment, according to Buckingham Palace.
네, 찰스 3세 영국 국왕이 암 진단을 받아 앞으로 치료를 받는 동안 공개 일정을 중단한다고 버킹엄 궁이 발표했습니다. 아, 그래요. 찰스 3세 왕이 지금 몸이 좀 건강 상태가 안 좋군요.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because we recently saw the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, and it's, you know, to hear that the next monarch is not doing well physically would be upsetting news, I think, for a lot of people. We don't know what type of cancer it is yet, but I think they did say that it's not prostate cancer, but it was discovered during his recent treatment for an enlarged prostate. So Buckingham Palace announced that the king began regular treatments on Monday, and he will postpone public duties during these treatments. He's 75 years old, so you know, I wouldn't be surprised if things are kind of breaking in your body. But they said that the king remains wholly positive about his treatment and is looking forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. But they did not share any further details on maybe what stage of cancer it is or the prognosis. And he is said to have informed both of his sons personally about his diagnosis.
네, 자, 프로스테이트라는 게 전립선입니다.
Yes.
그래서 프로스테이트 체크를 받는 동안에 암이 발견이 됐다. 그렇지만 프로스테이트 캔서는 아니다라고 밝혔습니다. 전립선 암은 아니라고 하지만 일종의 암이 발견이 됐기 때문에 일단 지금 치료를 받고 그동안에 했던 공식 업무들을 조금 줄이겠다라는 얘기가 되겠죠.
Right.
Let's have a look at the first expression, which is to step back.
Right, step back. So literally, you're taking a step back from something. It means to be stop doing or maybe stop being actively involved in something for a time being.
그래요. To step back라는 게 이제 뒤로 물러선다라는 뜻이니까 이 왕의 여러 가지 업무와 임무에 있어서도 지금 잠시 좀 물러서겠다라는 뜻이 되겠고요. 그 다음에 from public facing duties.
Right.
보통은 그냥 public duties라고 하죠.
You could say that as well, but when you're public facing, it means you're facing the public. So we're talking about the king's duties that involve some sort of direct interaction with the public, meaning, you know, the people, the masses.
그래요. public duties or public facing duties 이제 공식 일정이 되겠습니다. 말 그대로 하면은 사람 대중들과 마주하는 일이니까요. 네, 이렇게도 표현을 하고 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Britain's King Charles III has been diagnosed with a form of cancer and will step back from public facing duties while he undergoes treatment, according to Buckingham Palace. Well, that's it for the headlines.
Korea logged a current account surplus for the 8th straight month in December on the back of an increased trade surplus and increased dividends from overseas, according to the central bank.
무역수지 흑자 폭이 증가하고 해외 배당 수입이 늘어난 데 힘입어 작년 12월 우리나라 경상수지가 8개월 연속 흑자를 기록했다고 한국은행이 발표했습니다. So this has just been announced by the BOK. Tell us more.
Well, might as well just start with what the current account is. Basically, it records a country's transactions with the rest of the world. You can think of it that way. So specifically, net trade in goods and services. And when I say net, it means you have in versus out. So you have your gross income that you make, and then you pay your taxes. That's your net income. Same with people, same with companies. So when we say net, it means that. So you've got net trade in goods and services. Do you have a trade surplus or do you have a trade deficit? Then you've got net earnings on cross-border investments. So we will talk about dividends in a little bit that's included there. And then you've also got net transfer payments, things such as foreign aid. So that's what the current account is. Korea's current account surplus reached $7.4 billion in December, and that's following a surplus of just under $4 billion the previous month. So things are looking good from that respect for Korea.
Yeah. net라는 표현은 그러니까 순이익, 순수입 할 때 순이라고 우리가 해석을 하죠. 보통은 이제 gross라고 하는 총 금액이 있고 거기서 이제 여러 가지 expenses라든지 이런 것을 제하고 나면은 남게 되는 순수 금액을 net something 이렇게 표현을 하게 됩니다. So we're talking about that in terms of the current account, as you just said there. And things are looking rosy, would you say?
I would say so. So
yeah.
like last year, Korea reported a current account surplus for the whole year of about $35.5 billion. In 2022, it was almost 26 billion. So quite a big jump there. And it was much higher than the central bank had estimated. They'd only been expecting a $30 billion current account surplus. And they're also expecting that the current account surplus will actually widen this year to around 49 billion. So they're expecting quite a lot because of the hopeful recovery in exports, especially when it comes to chips and cars.
Semiconductors.
Semiconductors, yes.
그거를 이제 우리가 영어로 chips라고 얘기하기도 합니다. Not like fish and chips.
No.
Potato chips.
Potato chips, unfortunately not.
But when it comes to
Yes.
the economy and we're talking about exports and imports, especially South Korea, chips means semiconductors.
Right.
Okay, so the first expression here is on the back of.
On the back of something,
Yeah.
Something, or even someone, for example, someone's hard work, right? Companies benefit on the backs of their employees' hard work. So that's as a result of or due to something.
네, 무엇의 결과로라는 뜻인데요. On the back of something 이렇게 표현을 합니다. And the next one is dividends.
So dividends is when a company sends or pays a portion of their profit, their net income, to their shareholders, to each shareholder. So depending on how many shares you have, that would determine how big your dividend, how much money you receive. Now also, dividend can also be used just to talk about some advantage or benefit that somebody gets, usually for something you've done. And we usually use it in the plural. So we'll say something is paying dividends. So if one of your friends, for example, or you got a promotion at work, you could say, I got a promotion. All my hard work is finally paying dividends.
It's like paying off.
Yeah, I'm getting some benefit for something I did. So the same way,
interesting.
you invest in a company, the
Yeah.
company does well, they share a portion of that profit with the people who invested in the company.
Wow, it's interesting. I didn't know you could use it metaphorically,
Yeah,
actually, so
sure,
that's interesting.
sure.
Dividends라는 게 이제 배당금, 이익 배당이란 뜻인데요. 비유적으로도 쓴다라는 거죠. My hard work is paying dividends. 라고 하면은 내가 열심히 노력한 결과가 지금 이렇게 결실을 맺고 있구나. 결과가 이렇게 보이고 있다. 이런 뜻으로 보면 되겠고요. 다시 한번 헤드라인을 제가 읽어보겠습니다. Korea logged a current account surplus for the 8th straight month in December on the back of an increased trade surplus and increased dividends from overseas, according to the central bank. Now on to domestic news. Here's number 2.
Mobile driver's licenses used in smartphones here in Korea can now be used as official IDs, as the last 4 digits of the user's resident registration number will no longer be concealed.
네. 국내에서 사용되는 모바일 운전면허증이 이제부터는 주민등록번호 뒷자리까지 모두 표시함에 따라 공식 신분증을 대체할 수 있게 됩니다. So these app-based driver's licenses, before they had the final numbers or the last numbers.
The last 4 digits.
Right, concealed.
Yeah, right.
And so you couldn't use that as official ID. But now it is being disclosed. It's not concealed anymore. Now you can use it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they're saying that around 5.5 million people will now be able to use these mobile driver's licenses for transactions in financial transactions, public services, medical. If you're getting medical services, you can just present this, and that's the same as showing your card.
네, 그렇습니다. 바로 얼마 전까지만 해도 이제 주민등록번호 뒷부분이 가려졌었기 때문에 공개가 되지 않는 상태였기 때문에 이 모바일 운전면허증이 공식 신분증의 역할을 하지는 못했었는데 이제는요 다 표시가 됩니다. 그래서 이거를 신분증 대신 쓸 수도 있게 되는 거죠. I have yet to get my mobile driver's
Okay.
license. You can just apply for it, and then I believe you pay a small fee, and then you can get it through an app. But yeah, now I guess it's going to be useful not only for driving and whenever you need that document, but just as an official ID.
Yeah, you really think that, especially in Korea, where most people's doors have the keypad, and many people pay with their phone. Are you ever going to need wallets anymore?
I know, right? That's so true.
Or like back in the day, or when I lived in Canada, I had keys and a phone and your wallet. You had all kinds of stuff in your pocket, and now you just basically need your phone.
진짜 그러네요. 앞으로는 점점 이 물리적인 지갑이라는 게 필요가 많이 없어질 것 같다는 생각이 듭니다. Okay, so let's have a look at the expressions here. The first one is resident and the resident registration numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's your ID card.
Yeah,
So you would have a resident registration card.
yeah.
Foreigners, we have an alien registration
Right.
card.
Can you tell us about that? It's
It's-
not a 외계인.
No.
You're not an ET.
Right, but that's what it's called.
Yes.
And it's funny because the foreigners just refer to it as your alien card. So it's kind of funny.
그렇군요. 외국인 등록증은 이제 alien registration card라고 해서 alien이라는 단어가요. 외국인이라는 뜻이 있습니다. 이게 외계인으로 우리가 사실 제일 많이 알고 있지만 그래서 그 사실 한국에 거주하시는 많은 이제 외국 분들이 농담으로 I'm an alien 이렇게 얘기하기도 해요. 이게 뭐 농담 섞인 진담이기도 한데.
Little kids always find that funny when you teach the word alien and then show them your card.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm an alien.
Right.
이렇게.
But a resident in general is just someone who lives somewhere, right? So, I'm a resident of Seoul,
Yeah.
you're a resident of Paju, right? Or some
Yeah.
people can be resident. You can say the city, you can say a resident of even I'm a resident of Gangsa-gu, for example. You want to break
Sure,
it down. Or you could even just, the country you live in. You can say that as well. You're a resident of your house, of your apartment.
Yep.
Right? And then also where you live is your, and this would be your house or your apartment, is your residence.
That's right. That's your house or where you live.
Exactly.
네. resident, t로 끝날 때는요, 이제 주민이라는 뜻입니다. 근데 이제 어디 사는 사람이라는 뜻이 될 수 있죠. So you've been a resident of Busan, I think, and
I
now
was,
Seoul.
yeah, exactly.
So, I was born in Seoul, so I started off as a resident of Seoul, but I've moved around a lot.
Right.
I've been a resident of Jeju. I'm currently a resident of Paju, and so
You were a resident of Leicester.
Oh, yes, in England
Right.
before as well. Yeah, there you go. Resident, 주민, 그리고 residence, CE로 끝나면은요, 주거지라는 뜻입니다.
What was your residence like in England? Was it a house, townhouse?
A house.
Okay, so that must have been
Semi-detached.
Semi-detached, yeah, that's typical of especially the Midlands, right?
Yes, exactly. Conceal이라는 표현도 한번 볼까요?
Hidden,
Yeah.
kept secret. So sometimes you'll hear about, somebody had a concealed weapon on them. They were hiding a weapon.
Yeah. In the movie Frozen, which I know you love, Elsa, she has this magic power. Whatever she touches turns into ice.
Okay.
But her parents, ever since she was younger, used to always say, conceal, don't feel. And that's in her song as well. They just say, suppress those powers because it's dangerous.
Hide
don't do
it.
it, hide it, hide it.
Keep it secret.
Yeah, exactly. So she's always been brought up to conceal her powers and her feelings. And then later on, it just explodes and
Sure.
she suddenly goes, I'm just going to let it go.
Right.
And now I'm just going to use my powers, but for good. I'm not going to just, cause harm.
Sure.
I'll use it for good. 그래서 conceal이라는 게 가리다, 숨기다, 감추다예요. 우리 얼굴에 뭐 이렇게 있을 때 컨실러 바르죠. 왜 그러겠어요? 가리려고 바르죠.
Hide your blemishes or
Yes,
flaws or something
맞아요.
like that,
그렇죠.
right?
Blemish는 홍조 같은 거거든요. 그런 것들을 가리기 위해서. How do you know so much about makeup?
Well, I understand what conceal means,
Yes.
and I do live with a woman, so yeah.
There you go. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Mobile driver's licenses used in smartphones here in Korea can now be used as official IDs, as the last digits of the user's resident registration numbers will no longer be concealed.
Some 85,000 Chinese tourists are expected to travel to South Korea during the widely celebrated Chinese Spring Festival holiday, which kicks off this week and continues until February 17th.
이번 주부터 2월 17일까지 이어지는 중국 춘절 연휴 기간 동안 약 8만 5천 명의 중국 관광객이 우리나라를 방문할 것으로 예상됩니다. I think they call it 춘지에 in China, and so this is like a pretty long holiday, isn't
Sure,
it?
yeah, it looks like it's about starts on the Lunar New Year and goes until
Yeah.
February 17th this year.
So it's a week.
Yeah, so it should help the tourism industry in Korea. That's
Right.
good.
How many people?
Restaurants and
85,000?
They're saying 85,000.
Wow.
There's reportedly going to be over 1,000 flights. 1,023 was reported between the two countries over this 8-day holiday. There'll even be chartered flights.
Yeah.
Now, the most popular destinations, Seoul,
Yes.
also Jeju-do, and also Gangwon-do.
Oh, really?
They're saying that's another hot spot.
Between us, we're going to be in two of those three places.
Exactly, and Seoul isn't one of them. Right, I'm heading to Gangwon-do tomorrow. You're heading to Jeju-do.
All right, so yeah, interesting. 이제 긴 연휴잖아요, 중국에서. 그래서 우리나라를 방문할 예정인 중국 관광객이 8만 5천 명 정도 된다고 하는데 주로 서울과 제주도와 강원도를 갈 거라고 하네요. This is according to the KTO, right?
That's right.
그래요. 한국관광청 Korea Tourism Organization이 이렇게 얘기를 했습니다. 첫 번째 표현, widely celebrated.
That means it's celebrated by a lot of people in many places. So maybe not, not every country might celebrate this long spring festival, but many countries in Asia celebrate the Lunar New Year. We could say that's a widely celebrated holiday.
That's right. widely celebrated는 널리 기념이 된다. 많은 사람들이 기념하는 이라는 뜻인데요. Because of course in China there are so many people, we could say that it's a nationwide thing. It's widely celebrated there.
Sure, exactly. And also, it doesn't just have to be holidays.
Oh, yeah.
When, think of when there's the Olympics or when there's a big sporting event, then when teams win gold medals or win a big game, like I remember when the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship in 2019, that was widely celebrated actually throughout the country, not just the province of Ontario, because it's the only basketball team in the country. So we could say that was a widely celebrated win.
그렇죠. 그러니까 한 지역의 팀이 스포츠 경기를 우승했지만 캐나다 전체에서 다 축하를 하는 분위기였으니까 it was widely celebrated in Canada.
I was really hoping we were going to be able to celebrate an Asian Cup win for Korea, but yeah.
Did you watch the game against Jordan?
Yeah, I did.
I watched the first half.
Okay.
Went to bed. The first thing I did when I woke up was I took a look at my phone and of course
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they really missed
But
Kim
well
Min-jae.
done.
Yeah,
Well
it was
done,
good,
Tim.
but they
Yeah,
really
yeah.
missed Kim Min-jae.
Yeah,
He just,
yeah.
as the old saying goes, offense wins games, defense wins championships.
That's what they say, is it?
That's an old expression, yep,
see.
and it is true. And that's, I know Travis Kelce and the Chiefs are going to be in trouble because the 49ers have a, incredible defense. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah, Taylor Swift might be
Best
able
of
to
luck.
write some sad songs about that.
Well, artists are inspired by unfortunate
Heartbreak,
events or
yeah.
heartbreak. So there you go. Okay, the next one is to kick off.
Well, we're talking about football.
Yeah.
When the game kicks off, that's the start of the game.
Yes.
So that's it. I don't know for sure, but that must be where this phrase comes from,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
You
pretty
kick
sure.
something off,
Yeah.
you start something. A lot of companies will have kickoff meetings to launch their new products
Yeah.
or launch some new policy kind of thing or
We
start of
kicked
the
off
new year.
the show 30 minutes ago.
We sure did, right? You kick it off every morning.
그래요. 뭐 시작한다는 뜻입니다. 축구에서 이제 시작한다라는 표현에서 유래된 것으로 느껴지고요. kick off 한 단어로 쓸 수도 있고 명사로 아니면 동사로 kick 따로 off 따로 이렇게 쓸 수도 있습니다. 그리고 아까 chartered flights라는 표현은 전세기가 되겠습니다. 자, 다시 한번 읽어드릴게요. Some 85,000 Chinese tourists are expected to travel to South Korea during the widely celebrated Chinese Spring Festival holiday, which kicks off this week and continues until February 17th. Let's move on to the next headline.
The Paris Olympics Organizing Committee has expressed surprise that the salary of its president is reportedly being investigated by French authorities, less than 6 months before the Olympic Games open on July 26th.
프랑스 파리 하계올림픽까지 6개월도 채 남지 않은 시점에서 프랑스 당국이 올림픽 조직위원장의 급여 내용을 조사하고 있다는 소식에 조직위 측이 당혹감을 표했습니다. Oh, what's happening here?
Yeah, well, they are expressing surprise about this, and we're talking about Tony Estanguet's pay. He was actually a former 3-time Olympic canoe champion,
I see.
and his pay was set back in 2018. They've said it hasn't changed. He receives an annual gross salary of 270,000 euro. Plus, there's also incentives for performance, but that would not exceed 20% of his salary. So they're saying they don't really understand why this is happening, but this does follow French financial prosecutors targeting other members of the organizing committee. They've been saying that there are suspicions of favoritism, conflicts of interest, and perhaps even misuse of funds in awarding of certain contracts to companies. They haven't said that Estanguet is being reported directly
Right.
for this, but others have. So, you know, this story, it's a developing story, as we
It
usually
sounds quite
say.
complicated, and it also sounds like it's not going to end soon. So I guess the investigation will go on. Hopefully before the Olympics start, everything will have concluded. But
Right.
yeah. 270,000 euros in Korean won would be roughly about 3억 8천만 원. So we're looking at a hefty sum of money there.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
salary for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the first expression is salary.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
set me up there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, your salary is the money that you earn. How much money you take in every year. And usually, you know, in some countries they'll talk about monthly salary. In the UK a lot people will talk about how much they get paid per week. Whereas in Korea, people usually talk about per month.
Yes.
In North America, we usually talk about yearly salary. How much do you make per year?
네. 우리는 이 봉급 얘기를 할 때 주로 월급 얘기를 많이 하죠. 그게 이제 monthly salary가 되겠고요. 북미권과 일부 유럽 국가에서는 회사에서 2주마다 돈이 나오거든요. 그래서 biweekly salary 아니면은 일주일마다 돈이 나오는 곳들도 있어요. 그러면 weekly salary라고 표현을 하고 연봉은 바로 annual salary가 되겠습니다. 자, what about to open something? In this case, the Olympics
The Olympic-
opening.
Right, same thing as kicks off,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
To
yeah.
open, to start
yeah.
something. The games open.
Yeah,
But also
that's-
we use it a lot for talking about when does a store open, right? In Korea, you always do like when does the door open?
Yeah.
But in English, we just say when do you open? When do you close?
That's a good point. 우리는 이 가게 언제 문 열어요? 라고 하지만 영어로는 when does the door open 하지 않고요. When does the store open?
Right. And we
이렇게.
a lot of times we would just say when do you open? If you
그러네요. When do you
call up
open?
a shop, hey, when do you open? What time do you close? What time do you open? What time do you close?
Oftentimes what I'll do late in the afternoon is I'll call and say, are you still open? You know,
Sure,
just to make sure
right.
they're not closed.
Exactly.
네, 영업을 한다라는 의미로도 쓰기도 하고요. 개막하다의 의미가 여기서는 있습니다. 그래서 개막식이 opening ceremony죠. One other thing about the word open. You may have seen signs saying grand opening. That's the correct
Sure.
expression.
Right?
Grand open is actually incorrect. But I've
Yes.
seen some signs in Korea where it says grand open.
Okay. In English, we would say
Yeah.
grand opening.
opening.
Right.
이랬죠. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. The Paris Olympics Organizing Committee has expressed surprise that the salary of its president is reportedly being investigated by French authorities less than 6 months before the Olympic Games open on July 26th. Now on to our final headline.
A new study suggests that hurricanes are growing with such intensity due to climate change that the classification of them should be expanded to include a Category 6 storm, furthering the scale from the standard 1 to 5.
기후위기로 인해 허리케인이 갈수록 강해지면서 현재 1등급에서 5등급까지인 허리케인 강도 등급에 6등급을 새로 추가해 범위를 넓힐 필요가 있다는 과학자들의 제안이 나왔습니다. Okay, so hurricanes, we're talking about the Americas where they are affected by a lot of hurricanes there. Tell us more.
Well, we usually refer to the the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. So you get category 1 up to category 5.
Right.
But now they're saying that this is kind of insufficient to actually communicate the dangers of even more intense storms, which are predicted to increase in frequency as we go forward here. So they're suggesting that a 6th category should be added.
So not all hurricanes that were categorized as category 5 were the same. I guess some were more intense.
Well,
and that could be more intense
what
in
is
the
it
future.
from? It goes for, I think it's 150, I didn't put that, 158 miles per hour. So it's just greater than that. So they just want to put another one in. So they're saying that, so I don't have the figures here. Sorry.
Right.
So that's, sorry about that.
But nonetheless, they are getting stronger.
They
is
are
basically what we're
getting
saying.
stronger,
Yeah.
right? So they're saying that this, if they say there's category 6, then people know, okay, this is even stronger than what we would normally refer to as a category 5.
네. 현재 있는 이 1등급에서 5등급까지로는 이제 좀 부족하다. 왜냐하면 허리케인이 워낙에 강도가 세지고 있다 보니까 6등급도 하나 추가로 만들어야 될 것이다라는 얘기가 과학자들로부터 나오고 있습니다.
So
이렇게,
sorry.
Yeah, go on.
They looked at, the researchers looked at hurricanes from 1980 up to 2021, and they found that 5 storms in those years had winds of greater than 192 miles per hour. So
Okay.
they're saying that those ones should be classified as category 6.
So there have been hurricanes in the past that were way stronger than other category 5
Than the normal
hurricanes.
category 5. So that's what
Exactly.
they're pointing at.
네. 자, 이렇게 분류하는 거를요. classify 하다 아니면은 어떤 분류, classification이라고 표현을 하죠. So that's, putting them into certain categories or classes.
Exactly, right. When a classification is putting things into different groups, and it's based on certain characteristics. So if they share certain characteristics, you can get put into a certain group. Like animals are all classified into different groups.
Indeed. 자, 그다음에는 furthering the scale.
It means increasing. I would say even expanding the scale, right? When you further something, you increase it. So that's what it means here. Just, adding another category, adding a 6th category.
Yeah, people further their studies if they're really interested in a certain subject.
Right. A lot of times people will, you'll study more to further your career.
Yes, that's right. Furthering your career. 커리어를 이제 한 발 더 앞으로 나가게 하기 위해서. 그다음에 further your studies. 공부를 더 한다. 이렇게 뭔가를 더 할 때요. further라는 동사를 쓸 수가 있습니다. 여기선 scale를 더 넓힌다 라는 의미로 지금 1에서 5까지인데 하나 더 추가할 필요가 있다라는 거죠. There's the need to further the scale to a category 6. Okay.
Well, you can talk about there's need for further discussion on a certain topic.
Yeah, that's right. There's a need for further discussion. 우리 이거에 대해서 좀 더 많은 논의가 필요할 것 같습니다. 이런 뜻이죠. Well, here's the headline again. A new study suggests that hurricanes are growing with such intensity due to climate change that the classification of them should be expanded to include a Category 6 storm, furthering the scale from the standard 1 to 5.